Under the Trump administration, it will be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female. Doesn't sound too complicated, does it?
Except nothing is ever really that simple, is it? Especially when it comes to genders and how many there are. There's ideology and then there's science. And then there's the legal side of things, caught in the middle of all that. On day one of his current term, President Donald Trump signed 26 executive orders. One of them was Executive Order number 14168, which directed the State Department to require all government-issued IDs, including passports, to reflect a person's gender assigned at birth. That overturned a previous policy which allowed anyone to choose the sex designation on their passport, whether it be male, female, or X for unspecified. Within 24 hours of that order, according to the American Civil Liberties Union, passport applications submitted by transgender, intersex, and non-binary people were being held or rejected or returned with an incorrect sex marker. A federal court ruling yesterday put a temporary stop to that based on an ACLU lawsuit. We're going to have more on that in a moment. However, one of those on the receiving end of a mismarked passport is a 31-year-old Idahoan. Cassidy Robertson grew up in Boise, graduated from the University of Idaho, and has been living in Austria for the past 9 years, working as an English teaching assistant. But when her dad learned about this credential miscue, he wasn't about to let her handle it alone.
I think it was fine, everything that I heard.
Distance.
When we talked, it was fine.
Can help give perspective.
As things were happening, I'm sure.
For Mark Robertson, his daughter's coming of age.
Are you gay? Are you this? Are you that? Or whatever else. And she had to figure that out.
Was more about coming into her own.
And I think just she was trying to figure herself out at that time. We as parents were trying to give her the opportunities, be objective as we could be about things. And just kind of let it unfold. But we were fairly ignorant.
Cassidy Robertson recognized who she was when puberty hit.
In my particular case, I realized that there's just some part of me that did not feel aligned with the changes that were occurring in my body.
It would take a few years, but for Cassidy, it wasn't really a transition.
I think it was less a matter of this is who I am, and more just realizing this is, who I already was. So more a process of expressing myself in ways that felt more natural to myself than a matter of reinventing myself or discovering a new me.
That expression took hold in college.
At U of I think that's when she knew this is what I am, this is who I am, this is what I want to be.
And for her family, there was also an adjustment.
It was difficult with the name change. It was difficult with pronouns.
A process Mark believed was being mirrored in society until it wasn't.
I think there was a gradual movement toward acceptance. Same way with, being black in the 60s or 50s, being gay in the 80s and 90s. I think there was that gradual move. I think we took a tumble in the last few years.
Protecting women from radical gender ideologies. Ooh.
So when President Trump took office in January and he made that executive order on day one proclaiming two genders.
Yep.
As of today, it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
How'd that hit you?
Immediately there was a worry.
Worry? Because where are you in Austria? Distance.
I'm in Graz currently, the capital of Styria.
Can also make things difficult. You see, Cassidy's passport was expiring in May, so she applied for a renewal in April. So when you got your passport back and you looked at it, what did you see and what did you think?
I saw an M and I thought, well, dang it, they did it. They really did it. The nerve.
But that had to bother you a little bit, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, on the one hand, there's all of the potential logistical, legal, and all of those issues that it can bring up. But also just on a personal level, it just feels, discrimination just doesn't feel good. I have not necessarily been singled out, but I belong to a group that has been singled out to be the object of just cruelty. This is a cruel act designed to push people like me out of public spaces to essentially make living in society just that little bit harder.
Okay, so like coming home, how's that going to work?
I mean, that's the question. Now, I have a passport that identifies me as male, which doesn't match my appearance.
And it doesn't match any of Cassidy's other documents. Her Idaho driver's license, her Colorado birth certificate, even her old passport, all identify her as female.
And that's certainly a thing where border control agents, they check pretty closely. I've already, like traveling with a female passport, been pulled aside several times after the body scans.
It already sounds like it's pretty invasive and a little bit awkward. This just seems like it's going to make it worse.
That's probably how it's gonna go down. I want to be able to visit my friends and family. I want to be able to go to the country where I am a citizen without fearing repercussion.
Her dad?
These are life-altering decisions that she's made, she's been brave enough to make.
Calls it?
And now someone else
Bully tactics.
is changing that for her without her consent. And I don't think that's correct. I don't think that's right.
He even wrote a letter.
So it starts off, my name is Mark Robertson, a constituent in your 2nd District of Idaho.
Hoping Idaho Congressman Mike Simpson might be able to do something about it.
This miscarriage of justice does not make the USA a better, safer, or more compassionate nation, and is a far cry from where we as a country need to be.
Because even from a distance, Mark hopes he can help his daughter.
And frankly,
like she helped her dad.
She led the way. She taught us about differences.
All those years ago.
That's why it's important to me. This is her life, and she should be able to smile and live it every single day. And these rules, this ideology, this thought is preventing her from doing that. And as a parent, it just crushes me.
Cassidy told us it's an unfortunate truth. Trans people are already extremely marginalized and end up being the object of harassment and discrimination. This just adds to that. As for Mark, her dad, this is a plea of a parent. His goal is to make Cassidy's story real for people, that not everything has to be about politics or culture wars. Okay, so now the good news. Back in February, the ACLU filed a lawsuit over this executive order. And late yesterday, a federal judge in Massachusetts certified Orr versus Trump as a class action, meaning it will proceed representing everyone in that class, not just those named in the lawsuit. And in doing so, it extended the preliminary injunction issued back in April, applying it to any transgender, intersex, or non-binary person applying for a passport, which means the State Department is now ordered to provide new passports with the sex designation as requested. But as the ACLU told us today, they don't want transgender people to immediately just apply for a passport like today. They're trying to work out with the federal government what will be required to show they are included in this preliminary injunction, and they hope to have it figured out within a week. So their advice, sit tight to avoid any confusion.
When they present a passport that is consistent with the way they're presenting themselves, they risk being accused of passport fraud. They risk being detained, searched, but at a minimum, it exposes them to the possibility of discrimination, harassment, and even violence. So it's quite a serious matter.
Okay, so for our Cassidy, who's in Austria, if she wants to travel to America, say in the next few weeks or so, what can she do?
Well, so again, we're hoping to get this clarified, within a week at the outside. If the government does not give us a quick answer, we will go to the court to ask the court to tell them what they need to do. Then there should be something that she can check and submit to request a new passport with the sex designation that she wants.
John says to keep checking the ACLU website for updates. But if timing is an issue, you're told to go to a consulate or a passport office. Yesterday's decision does not settle this issue, by the way. It's still an active lawsuit that has to work its way through the courts. It's just a I should say a preliminary injunction, not a temporary one, but a preliminary injunction. And the federal government has already appealed that preliminary injunction. One transgender lawsuit that did come to a conclusion this morning, though, has to do with gender-affirming care for minors. The U.S. Supreme Court upheld Tennessee's ban on hormone treatments and puberty blockers for trans kids, which means Idaho's similar law, which went into effect last year, is also fully enforceable. That decision coincides with the dismissal of the lawsuit filed against Idaho's law, that'd be Poe versus Labrador, as announced today by the Attorney General's office.